Welcome back to Established Dominance Fantasy Football. I'm your host, Ding, and this is the Monday Night Football recap and the review of my Week 3 under-over picks. And we'll look at tonight's games, evaluate how the under-overs did for the week, take a look at some injuries, and what we're going to do moving forward. But before we jump in, if you appreciate these podcasts, please hit the like and subscribe buttons and follow us on X at Established Dominance. Now, quick injury updates for the week. Cup, he's going to be out for a while. He's going to Germany to get his Achilles evaluated. That sounds really serious. Starting off the year from a questionable standpoint to probably not going to play for the entire year. Wow, San Francisco, you need to be investigated. All right, Laporta, he's got a low ankle sprain. He's week to week, so look for Brock Wright on the waiver wire. He's a good pickup. He's shown it in the past. When Laporta's out, he can actually bring in some strong weeks. So take a look at getting him if you need him. Skylar Thompson, he's going to be out a couple weeks. He just got completely beat up. Now we've got Huntley or Boyle coming in. It's a disaster for all of the Miami players, especially Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And then last, Eckler had a concussion tonight. Kind of tough. As soon as he went out, it could be out for a couple of weeks. So something to monitor there. On the Monday Night Football recap, we had 2 games tonight. Put in the comment section below if you like 2 games on Monday Night Football. I don't. One is good. Let's just enjoy one and drink some beer. I don't know why I have to keep switching between 2. That just doesn't make any sense. You know what? If you want to go there, put one on Saturday. Help us out. Or even Friday night. Thursday night, Friday night, Sunday night, Monday. Love it. Do that. But 2 on Monday night, waste. All right. Let's take a look at the first one. That was a waste. Buffalo versus Jacksonville. What an embarrassing game. The entire Jags coaching staff was on notice at the beginning of the season when the owner told them, "You're all fired if you don't do well," aka make the playoffs, make a significant run. I'm surprised the owner didn't show up at halftime and fire their asses right there. 34-3 at half. Wow, that is terrible. Now, Allen, he didn't have any pressure on him. He threw everything he wanted to. It was a complete beatdown. He threw 263 for 4 touchdowns plus 44 on the ground. I'm surprised they didn't pull him after the half because I was afraid of him getting hurt. I was afraid for everybody else who's in Allen order. So thankfully he didn't get hurt. Had a monster night. Cook, another huge night. He looks explosive. He had 16.8 PPR at the half. All right. He finished with over 18. They pulled him in the 4th. Makes sense. Put in Ray Davis. He only had 15 touches though, which is interesting, but very efficient on those touches plus the touchdown. Shakir, he led all receivers, 72 yards and a touchdown. He had a great TD. It's kind of like everyone was getting a TD tonight. You get a TD, and you get a TD, and you get a TD. What are we on, Oprah or something? But Kincaid, he got a TD. He found zone coverage, sat there all night. Not a whole lot of targets, 5 targets, 3 catches, 41 yards, and a TD. But he had a nice night. Welcome back, Kincaid. The defense was superb. Although, was Jacksonville's O-line even ready for the game? I don't know which one was worse, honestly, but they looked solid tonight. Lawrence, he gets a huge contract, and he's a huge bust. He really has no mobility, making poor decisions. He had 178 for a touchdown and 1 interception. Not great. ETN, he had some decent garbage time. If you're an ETN owner, which I am, 11 rushes for 68 yards and then 4 catches for 17. I wish he'd gotten a touchdown, but it was definitely not that night. Kirk led all wide receivers, but that isn't saying much. He had 8 for 79. Thomas, 5 for 48. And then Strange, picking up Ingram. He's the one who only got the touchdown. I still can't believe that Ingram hurt his hamstring pregame. I mean, it just makes me sick. But Strange is getting all his looks and all his catches and all his touchdowns. So Ingram would have been a good touchdown or would have been a good tight end if he just stayed healthy. All right, moving on to the second game. Much more exciting. If you were watching the first game, easily at halftime, you switched over and never went back. And that's the Cincy-Washington game. Burrow had both of his top wide receivers back. He played well. 324 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Great game. Moss, he was productive. It was basically a timeshare though, but 12 rushes, 58 yards and a touchdown, 5 catches for 39. It's a really strong PPR night. And then Chase, he had a dominant night. Obviously, 2 touchdowns, 6 catches, 118 yards. Huge night, almost 30 in a PPR league. So you got to thank goodness Chase came back if you got him in the first round of your draft. And then Chase Brown, now timeshare almost exactly with Moss. He was very productive. Only 7 rushes, 62 yards. Couple of catches, no touchdown for Brown, though. Higgins, he missed a touchdown tonight, but that was only because he couldn't get his feet down. He also missed another one later. He finished 3 for 39. Really quiet night, but he had multiple red zone looks. So if you're a Higgins owner, don't worry. Moving forward, I think as he gets back in the offense after his injury, he's looking really good. Yosivas, he had a quiet night until like the fourth quarter, and then he explodes. Finishes with a 5 for 52 and a touchdown line in a lot of garbage catch-up time. I don't want to call it garbage because they were trying to come back in, but that's when he was picking up his looks because they were doubling Chase and looking at Higgins. Gesicki, they pulled him during a red zone opportunity. I don't really know why, but he only went 4 for 47 tonight. He was still part of the offense, but now that they've got Higgins back, you can expect him to get less looks. On Washington's side, Daniels, what an amazing game. This guy is easily the best quarterback or the best rookie quarterback of this class. Exploded for 254 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, so no mistakes there. 39 yards on the ground plus another touchdown. Really leading the offense tonight. Looked solid. I don't know that Cincinnati's defense was really terrible. He just played outstanding, I thought. Robinson went 16 rushes for 33 yards and a touchdown, so that's terrible. 2 yards a rush, but he's getting the volume. And now that Eckler has a concussion, that's going to change things moving forward. But he only had 1 catch. So if Robinson doesn't pick up any more PPR off of this, that's going to be a problem. Eckler, he was more productive than Robinson. Less touches. He also got a touchdown, but the concussion in the third quarter, he was gone. And then the weird thing was, instead of riding Robinson, basically Daniels picked up more of the rushes, and then they brought in McNichols for like 1 touch, which didn't make any sense. Either way, let's hope Eckler comes back from that concussion. McLaurin, finally, that's what I'm saying. Daniels is starting to become, he's really developing well. He can find McLaurin. And McLaurin is a difference maker. Getting the red zone looks. He went 4 for 100 and a touchdown, and that touchdown won the game. Huge play. McLaurin, if you can just get him the ball, he can make something happen. Zach Ertz, 5 catches for 38. He looked good. Took some big shots tonight, but he survived. And that'll do it for the Monday night games. Nothing really big came out of it other than Daniels is legit now. McLaurin, you can start with confidence, and Eckler, we need to monitor. Now, as far as our underappreciated and overhyped go, let's take a look at those. And bottom line up front, it was a rough week for me. Not afraid to say it. In the underappreciated category at the quarterback position, start off with Dak Prescott. He had a great night. Big call here, over 300 yards passing, multiple touchdowns, a lot of garbage time, but he threw up about 35, 38 in PPR, so that looked really good. Derek Carr was number 2. He got destroyed. It was a boring defensive game. He was forcing it to Olave the entire night. I think he was missing some good looks, but it was really disappointing to see that, so I missed on that one. And then Minshew totally blew an opportunity to decimate Carolina. I mean, he has Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, couldn't find either of them. It was pathetic. And then they had to bring in Aiden O'Connell at the end of the game in the fourth quarter. So who's going to be the quarterback moving forward? I don't know, but terrible performance for Minshew. So the quarterback, I only went 1 for 3. Not so good. A running back, even worse. I went 0 for 3. I had Zamir White, Pollard, and Swift. And all 3 of them were bad in their own special way. Zamir, the reason why I picked Zamir is because I figured this is his opportunity to prove himself. If he can't do it against Carolina, who was getting destroyed on the run, then he's never going to do it. And what happened? He was awful. And Madison, of course, vultured the only touchdown he had a chance at. It's over for Zamir White. If I had him on a team, I probably wouldn't start him. Madison, I wouldn't start him either. They're just not getting enough love on the ground, and they're really not efficient. If you're lucky, both of these backs are touchdown dependent, and they're just not getting enough touches. It's a train wreck, and Aiden O'Connell coming in is not going to help things out. Okay, for Tony Pollard, this was just a factor of Will Levis just throwing the game away. The team got so far behind, they had to abandon the run. He didn't have success when he got the touches, but he's a back that needs multiple touches. You got to get him 15 touches to get him going. That just didn't happen. It was game script at this point. Unfortunately, he didn't have a chance. And then Spears was brought in as a pass catching back to help him out, but that didn't even work. I missed there. And then Swift. I told you I was taking a risk on this one. The O-line for Chicago is so bad. If I mean, if you can get someone to trade you for Swift, do it now. He looks terrible. He cannot capitalize on any handoffs he's getting. There's guys in the background. Before he can even get to the line of scrimmage, there's like 4 guys in front of him. Chicago is a train wreck right now. None of the skill players can honestly be effective unless it's total garbage time. And I know the Chicago quarterback, I know Caleb had a great week from a PPR standpoint, but it was because they were so far behind. He just had to throw garbage stuff all the entire time. He just throw. Swift is going to have rough weeks moving forward. If you can trade him for a decent back, I would probably do that. So over 3 in running backs, not so good. A wide receiver, different story. Went 3 for 3 this week. I had Chase, Thielen, and Cooper. Now Chase, 2 touchdowns. I said he was going to have a touchdown. He went out and had 2 touchdowns. Well done. Thielen, I took a huge risk on this one. I nailed it. He got a touchdown, but then unfortunately he blew out his hammy on that touchdown catch. Great job holding on. He's going to be out probably week to week, something amount of there. And that really contributed to a factor later, and we'll talk about it. But Thielen was having a nice night until then. And then Cooper, I said I was feeling a touchdown from Amari Cooper because he's elite, and he gave us 2. He looked really good. Unfortunately, the rest of the Browns didn't, but way to go, Amari Cooper. And then we go right back to terrible. At the tight end position, I went 0 for 3. I said Henry, Gesicki, and Kelsey. Now, Gesicki had a decent night, but not a huge night. I'm just going to call it a goose egg on that one. But he had a decent night from a PPR standpoint for tight ends. Henry was a total bust. He didn't show. I said they had to throw to them if they wanted to have a chance at winning. They totally blew him off, and New England got humiliated. I mean, they look like a high school team. I think my own high school team from back in the day could beat them. And then Kelsey. Man, I said he was going to have his first touchdown of the season. He just sat on the bench, I don't know, getting a manicure or something, thinking about Taylor Swift. Something's going on with him, man. Mahomes is only looking at Rice, not looking at Kelsey. It's not like he's drawing double coverage because Rice is crushing the other team, and the other team knows it. So something's going on there. I don't know what it is, but Kelsey owners have to be worried. Okay, let's move into the overhyped. At the quarterback position, hey, I don't know. It's like extremes. I go 3 for 3, then 0 for 3. But in the overhyped at quarterback, I went 3 for 3. I had Richardson, Stafford, and Goff. So Richardson, terrible game. 167 yards passing, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Just awful. Stafford, not a great night. He had 221 yards passing and a touchdown, no interceptions. That's pretty good, but it's not that great of a fantasy night. I'm not going to give him a W on that one because Kyron Williams did it all, which is awesome. And then Goff. Now he went 199, 2 and 1. So 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, less than 200 yards passing, only 23 attempts. So coach listened to what I said, keep those attempts down and run with power. And they did. But he got credit for that touchdown where they flipped it between the wide receiver and Gibbs, and then Gibbs ran it in. I don't really agree with that. He shouldn't get credit for that because as far as I'm concerned, that is a catch, a fumble, and a recovery for a touchdown. I don't care that he passed it to somebody else. He shouldn't get credit for that touchdown because the play is over as soon as that player releases the ball. So I don't get why he gets that. So I'm taking credit for that one. You can scoff me if you want. Moving on to running backs. I only went 1 for 3 here. The first running back, Jacobs, I said it was a trap game. It totally was. Shut him down with 15 touches, 43 yards on the ground and 1 catch. That's a really bad game, especially coming off the 150-yard performance he had the week prior. Do I think he'll bounce back? Yeah, I do. But this was game script. Malik wanted to come in and prove himself to his old team and was like, I'm going to do it all and run it myself. And Jacobs was just a victim of this one. I had JT. I was totally wrong on that. Chicago, I don't know what happened. They didn't show up. He just destroys them for 2 touchdowns. They had him for a little while, and then all of a sudden he just started busting out, and it just got disgusting. And then last, Breece Hall. He had a good night. I thought I was going to be right until he got that 1 touchdown where he scored like by an inch. They had to review it. I still think the worry is there. Allen is arising. I think it was 11 rushes for 55 yards, 5 yards a carry. I mean, look out. This kid is coming. And, thankfully, Breece Hall keeps getting a touchdown every week. That's good. But Allen's going to be starting to vulture here pretty soon, I'm afraid. Okay. At the wide receiver position, I went over 3. And this is where I'm going to eat the most crow. Deontay Johnson. All right. I'm just going to say it. Andy Dalton is a savior. I was wrong. You're not going to hear that on any other fantasy football website. They're not going to tell you that they're wrong. They're just going to tell you, they're going to give you excuses. I totally messed this up. Andy Dalton is the savior for Carolina. I was totally wrong. He looked for DJ. He forced it to DJ. DJ hit a monster game. Now, I still think that DJ's monster game was because Thielen got hurt. But, props to DJ. Monster game, touchdown, over 100 yards receiving. Quentin Johnston. Now, this one I don't like. I'm not taking credit for this, but I don't like it. He only had 2 catches for 44 yards and a touchdown on 2 looks. His touchdown was like a 25-yard blown coverage. There literally wasn't anyone inside of 20 yards of him, and he scores a touchdown. Whatever. Now, he's banged up. I don't know what's going to happen. He's going to have more medical evaluations again this week, probably more medical stuff than practices. Look out for Herbert and see what's going on. His backup, whoever it's going to be. But Quentin Johnston, 2 looks and he gets a touchdown. To me, that's luck, but I'm going to take the L on this one. And then the last wide receiver I had was Olave. He had a huge night, 6 for 86 and a touchdown. They forced him the ball. It was almost like, well, we have to feed our alpha, which I respect that. But at the same time, you got to win the game. And they lost. So I don't really think that was the right move on their part. There you have it. I'm wrong. And then at the tight end position, I went 0 for 2. Kincaid went 3 for 41 and a touchdown. If he hadn't caught that touchdown, I would have gotten credit for that one. But, again, I'm looking for guys who I think are going to have rough weeks, and they're probably someone that you're on the fence about starting. Kincaid only had 5 targets again, 341 and 1, still caught a touchdown, so that makes him good. And then Goddard. Wow, this is like the biggest miss in the history of misses. Now, I will tell you, catching 10 for 170 yards, that's not going to happen for him again, okay? Seriously, it's just not going to happen. But good on him for that. 27 yards PPR, or 27 points PPR. No touchdown, though. How's the guy put up 170 and not get a touchdown? But props to Goddard. I was totally wrong on this one. So overall, rough under-over week. I think my biggest mistake of this week was misassessing Dalton's impact in Carolina and how that changed the Vegas Carolina game, because it cost me, Minshew. It cost me Zamir White, DJ, Thielen, so there's a couple of my over-unders right there that were directly impacted. So I totally misassessed that game. So moving forward, Carolina is going to be more productive. The defenses against them, you're not going to be able to stream them because Dalton is doing what he needs to do. Next week, he goes into Cincinnati, which is his old team. If you're not thinking he's going in there looking for a little bit of revenge too, I promise you he is. So he's probably going to have another big week. And looking at how much Washington put up on Cincy tonight, that's going to be a big game. I would not stream Cincy against Carolina. Carolina players, upgrade all your Carolina players because they're looking good right now. I hope you had a good week, and I hope you won your matchups. If you didn't, remember there's still time. Don't panic. You can still win your league. Tomorrow we're going to look at waivers. We'll see how we can make your team better. The Tuesday injury report is going to come out, so we'll see if there's a little more on Laporta, Eckler, and a couple other guys who took some rough injuries over this weekend. Again, it's only week 3. You can still win this. There's some options to trade out there. Take a look at some of your players. If you're missing a running back and you're really having wide receivers, see if you can trade. It's a good week to trade. Bye week start in week 5. So start thinking about who you're going to play in your bye weeks. If you're finding that there's a couple of guys who are going to be out and maybe you don't have the bench space, also another good time to trade for someone who will help you with that bye week. Maybe someone who is roughly equal, but now you don't have to go get somebody off of the bye week and you have someone you can start for the rest of the season. Take a look at trades. This is a great time to do it, especially with the bye weeks upcoming. As always, before we sign off, I want to give a shout out to our men and women in uniform who protect the freedoms we hold dear. Thank you for your service and sacrifice. And finally, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe and follow us on X, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts so you can stay up to date on our latest content. And remember, established dominance isn't just a catchphrase, it's a commitment. Are you ready?